I would like to call to order the regular city council meeting of Monday, February the 14th, 2022. I would welcome everyone here tonight, and especially those that are joining us via streaming media. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to stand for our invocation by Pastor Zach Mayhew of Shady Grove Baptist Church, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. God, we thank you we get to gather here, God, and we just lift up every person that's in this room, God. We lift up all these leaders, men and women of this community, God. God, give them the strength, God, that they need to do to lead this community the way it is, God. Let your light shine upon this community, God, and we just thank you for what you're doing here in Cherryville, God. Continue them to give the vision to lead in here, God, and everybody else that's in here, God, is going to be asking questions, Lord. Let you be in this meeting today. We just thank you for what you do for us, and we thank you for many blessings that you give Cherryville, North Carolina. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. First item we will address tonight is the agenda as presented. Do I have direction from council on approving our agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There is none. Next item would be approval of the minutes of our city council regular meeting of January the 10th, 2022, and B, our city council work session meeting of January 25th, 2022. Do I entertain a motion from council to approval of our minutes?
I move that we approve both minutes together, the city council regular meeting on January 10th and the city council work session of January 25th.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented of city council regular meeting of January 10th and city council work session of January 25th. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And there is none. It is unanimous. Next item is our mayor's comments. On behalf of all of your city council and city staff, I want to wish all of our citizens a very happy Valentine's Day. It is with sadness that I announce the loss of two of our city staff workers. Jason Black resigned this past month to take a position with a utility company, and Derek Mackey has accepted a full-time position at a pharmaceutical company in Lincoln, North Carolina. Both positions have been advertised, and even some interviewing has already taken place to fulfill one of the vacancies. Butter Me Up has closed recently on Main Street. City Manager Dalton and I met several weeks ago with Mr. Patrick O'Leary, the owner of the building, and he has informed us that at least 4 individuals have already demonstrated an interest in opening at this location. Mr. O'Leary stated that the YMCA will likely be ready sometime this month. He is looking at the Belt Building to be completed in late spring. Our City Works employees did an outstanding job on the snow removal after our recent snowstorm. We want to commend and thank them for their untiring work during this event. On January 27th, Mayor Pro Tem Jill Pewitt and I attended the virtual meeting of the Gaston Cleveland Lincoln MPO. We were informed at this meeting that the construction project on Highway 279 was somewhere around 67% complete. The last phase will be mostly on the Dallas side of the highway. Some improvements at some of the intersections are still to be completed also. The heat and air vent went out at the community building, and because of the age of the unit, it was recommended that we replace the unit. Bids went out, and CSI of Shelby came in with a low bid of $20,000 and has already begun installing the new unit. And as far as I know, it is in now.
That was actually 15,000.
Was it 15?
I know they were here working, whether they've completely finished or not, I don't know for sure.
Okay. All right, so that needs to be corrected on the mayor's comments, and that would be 15,000, okay? City Manager Dalton informed me that he met with Sealand, and they have indicated that they will likely start tearing or replacing sidewalks and curbs on Main Street in the next couple weeks. Public Works Director Brandon Abernathy met with REA officials concerning who will provide the electrical power to the Strap Acre subdivision. The city of Cherryville will serve a total of 230 of the proposed lots. The city feels this is great for our growth, and we look forward to increasing our electrical power customer base. City Manager Dalton spoke with Mr. Ray Maxwell with Gaston County concerning the proposed park at Cherryville East Elementary Woods. Mr. Maxwell is hoping a contractor will be chosen soon, and the construction of the recreation area will begin by this summer, and they will have the Bermuda put in by the fall of this year. Plans for Westgate Park renovations have begun, and I will have updates later on that. This past Friday, I attended and spoke at the retirement event for Fireman Chris Pudge Cash. A very large crowd was on hand, and I presented Mr. Cash with an autographed picture by all in attendance. Afterwards, Assistant Chief, Fire Chief Colby Hefner, presented Mr. Cash with his retirement fire helmet. Mr. Cash followed with an emotional speech concerning his time with the Cherryville Fire Department. Pudge will certainly be missed by all of us that knew him and his dedication to our city. In closing, I want to give everyone an update on the condition of Council Member Malcolm Parker. I spoke with Councilman Parker yesterday, and he stated that they are still evaluating his condition. He is not allowed any visitors other than family at this time, but he related how thankful he was to all the prayers that have gone up in concern for his health. He is optimistic for a speedy recovery and hopes to be coming home soon. As he states, the food is not to his liking, and he can't wait to get better food at home. I ask everyone to continue to keep Councilman Parker in your thoughts and prayers. And this concludes the mayor's comments. We will move to item 7 in our agenda, and that is citizens to be heard. Any citizen that would like to speak may do so by coming to the podium and stating their name and address before they speak. Comments will be held strictly to 5 minutes per person. At this time, do I have any citizen that would like to be heard? And I think the only one that has signed up is Miss Teresa McFarland. You have the floor.
I'm gonna take this off so y'all can hear me a little better and I'm not muffled, if I may. I'm Teresa McFarlane. I reside at 1139 East Franklin Boulevard in Gastonia, but I'm also the owner of 124 West Main Street. The reason I'm here tonight is we have some concerns as far as our business activity with the development of 126 West Main, turning it into apartments. The biggest concern we have is the parking. I know you guys discussed at the last meeting selling the lot, the old Holmesley lot, to Mr. O'Leary for parking. My question is, how many parking spots is that gonna allow for? And how is my business gonna be impacted
Can
during all
I
this?
stop for you for a
Sure.
second?
Sure.
We're gonna have a public hearing on this, and I think your comments need to be during that public hearing.
Okay.
Isn't that correct? That's correct.
Yes,
Okay.
and that hearing will be
Later on, it's coming up.
quasi-judicial.
Okay.
So you will have to be sworn in to give any kind of comments at that time. I'm sorry, I thought
Yeah,
maybe
is
this
just for
concern
regular, any,
Right.
something else.
But I know that you guys are talking about those two
Yes,
items.
and that
and
will
I
be
want to
later
be
in our
involved
agenda.
Yes.
As the owner of the next door property.
yes. You
Sure,
will- You will
yeah.
be able to speak in the public hearing later on.
All right.
Yeah, and you will be sworn in,
Yes.
No
because it is
problem.
quasi judicial.
Should I have my attorney in a presence?
No, that's not necessary.
I mean, I can if I need to.
Okay.
She's been involved with the other things with Mr. O'Leary. So
Okay,
I didn't have her tonight because I didn't think I needed
Yeah,
her.
you don't.
okay. Okay, do I have any other citizen that would like to be heard at this time? If so, you may come to the podium, state your name and address, and comments will be held strictly to 5 minutes. Any other citizen at this time? Okay, if not, we will move to item 8, and that's a presentation of project update from Piedmont Lithium. And I think Melissa happens to be here, so you have the floor now, Melissa.
Thank you. I'm not David, but I'll try to fill in some shoes. Two very quick updates for you tonight. We just want to make sure that you know where we're at as far as the project. We are still in the state mining permit application process, which is still under review. We expect a few more rounds of department reviews. Probably we would assume maybe 2 more rounds of questions from Demler at this time. And this will predict the timing to proceed on a rezoning request from the county. So until we get through the state mining permit process, once that's done, we'll go into the county level application. Unfortunately, the timeline from Demler is not definitive right now because they do go through these rounds of questions. They are asking some very good questions and very detailed questions about our operations that I know some community concerns have been around some of these questions that they're asking. Yes, sir.
Back to the question. Do you always go to the state level before you go to the county level?
In this case, because we're going for a state mining permit, so that's at a state level. It kind of gives us the green light to go at the next level, which would be the county rezoning. Yeah. And I
And
would.
you said they could possibly be 2 more rounds. You're in what, round 2 now?
We're in round 2.
So that it
and
could
we're-
go to 4 rounds?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They are, we've already worked on our questions for this round, so we'll submit back. Then they have a period of time to come back to us. Yeah, so, yeah, it's quite the process, but we're there with them every step, answering all of the questions that they have. And then I would also like to formally share the good news about Piedmont Lithium committing to the Cherryville High School Education Foundation. It was something that we met with in late 2021. And when we came back from holidays, we had our economic impact study, so we weren't able to send out the joint press release, but that will come out later this week. It's a release made by both us, Piedmont Lithium, and the foundation. We made an initial donation that will, of course, help all of the schools, or help Cherryville High School students and teachers to continue having that leading edge program and resources that they need to foster academic excellence and hopefully, work on some career technical programs that can benefit Piedmont Lithium.
Yeah, I'm on the board of directors of the foundation, so thank you for your partnership.
Absolutely, yes.
The one question I would have, if you do in fact get permitted,
Yes, sir.
would you work through, I know you're working through the high school now, but would you work through Gaston College also to see that they have certain courses that would benefit Piedmont Lithium that
Absolutely,
would
yes. So
do with the
we're,
mining and the operations and the,
yes. Our team actually just met with Gaston College, not for the first time. They were actually my first call, just given my background in economic development. We've already met with them to kind of set up pathways for their apprenticeship program. So once we start hiring, you know, we would love to get some apprentices going through that program. Then we're also starting at the high school level, moving into Gaston College. So all of that is being formulated, you know, in the background, so when we do start hiring, we'll be ready.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other question I have is, and this hinges also on whether you are permitted or not.
Yes, sir.
But you would be having a meeting that would decide on water sources, wastewater treatment, power, electrical power, and so forth. Would that involve Cherryville? Would they be in that meeting also, or would that just be with the county?
No, absolutely. We would want all players at that table, all people that would be involved, all utilities. Would be similar to the large utility meeting that we had previous, where we can discuss all of the calculations, the considerations. So everyone is at that table, absolutely, including Cherryville.
Okay. Because I think that's very important on selling our citizens on this project. They're wanting to know what benefits Cherryville would have from this as far as the city is concerned.
Correct.
That would be a big factor on how it's accepted by our citizens.
Yes, agreed. And we've done some, just to get everybody caught up, we started out with a large utility meeting, and everyone was at the table, Cherryville, City of Gastonia, Gaston County, just to kind of get just an intro into the project, what the capacity and loads would be for each of those utilities. And then we've done some studies, we've done some engineering work, and that's kind of what we've been working on to get us to the next step with that. So it'll be more definitive. I know I've used that word a lot, but there'll be more definitive answers with the utilities going
Okay.
forward.
And I know that's down the road. If you're just on the second phase and you've got, looking at two more, I know that's gonna be
Right,
later down the road.
yes.
But I would entertain if any city council members have any questions for Melissa.
Read an article this weekend that China pretty much owns the lithium market for production. So it's good to see United States and our local area getting involved, I guess, in producing.
Absolutely, and if you saw the Super Bowl, I think there were 5 commercials highlighting electric vehicles in the U.S. So we're proud to be a part of that and hope that, you know, with all of this goes as fast as we can have it go so we can get started.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda tonight, item 9, is consideration of the upset bid. And this is in regards to the city-owned lot located on the corner of West Main Street and South Mulberry Street. And City Manager Brian Dalton will lead us through that. That's pages 32 through 47 in your agenda packet.
Yes, Mayor, Council, if you recall, last month we had an offer to purchase, that is the vacant lot there at Main and Mulberry. We had an offer to purchase by Cherryville Main Street LLC for the price of $30,000. The city had to go through the upset bid process with this. An ad was run in the Cherryville Eagle on January 26th, and there's a 10-day period where somebody can also come in and make a offer to purchase the property, and at this time, we did not receive any offers other than the one we have from Cherryville Main Street LLC.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion from council that we accept the bid, and that was in the amount of $30,000 for the lot on the corner of West Main Street and South Mulberry Street.
Yes,
motion, we accept their offer.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the bid of $30,000 for the lot located on the corner of West Main Street and South Mulberry. Any other discussion by council? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, and there is none. It is unanimous. All right, we'll move to item 10 is the presentation of the end-of-year report. And I see Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, Pete Kraft here. So Pete, you have the floor now for 2 minutes.
We can get it. I'm gonna just hit the high spots, so I think we can make that
You
happen.
always say.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. City Manager, thank you, for what you do for the chamber. We're always, I say this every time I speak, here, we appreciate the relationship we have, with City Council and our chamber. It goes a long way, and, teamwork goes a long way. And we certainly appreciate that. And it's been my privilege to be the chairman of this board for maybe going on 10 years now. And I've appreciated that very much. A few of the things we just want to bring up tonight, just as a year in review, sort of, is our things that we've been involved in over the last year, which is a couple of ribbon cuttings that we had. Both very well attended ribbon cuttings. We had one dedication, was down at the ABC store for the plaque for Terry Fisher, very well attended, and the Caramont Urgent Care groundbreaking, also very well attended. We held 2 virtual seminars for small business, our community relations. Last year, you remember, we had a virtual type annual meeting, which was different from what we were used to. Of course, the last couple of years or so have been different from what we're used to, but we had our annual virtual meeting. We had or assisted in gathering volunteers for 4 COVID clinics. We had some weekly firefighter highlights and chamber member highlights that was on our Facebook page. Provided community marketing materials with some restaurant guides, shopping guides, different type things for all the welcome bags for both the Dixie Youth and American Legion ball tournaments. And Mary Beth or David, I think Mary Beth's back here, David's here. Each of them had a QR code card in it. And they could probably speak better as to what all that pertained to, but you scan that, and it shows you a lot of information about Cherryville. And we understand it generated over 800 hits on the city's new website just by that scanning that code. Our school partnerships, we help promote the decorating of downtown for the rescheduled homecoming parade for the high school. Provided cookies for all Cherryville area schools, students, and staff. Decorated the drop-off area for Cherryville High School for the 2021 senior class. Took the Grinch and Santa Claus to the Cherryville Elementary School and the middle school. Helped find sponsorships for area schools for things such as extra outdoor furniture and Student of the Month programs. Our Festival Committee assisted with the planning and execution of the following events. The Independence Day celebration, the Hocus Pocus Parade, the Monsters March, which is the Halloween parade for the children, Scaryville, the Christmas tree lighting, Whoville, which was very well attended this year, and our Christmas parade. And then 2 positive things, not that none of the rest are positive, but we helped gain sponsors to help pay $3,000 of the city's fireworks display since there was an unforeseen increase in the price of fireworks due to COVID and container ships coming from overseas. And we did not use any of the city's budget for Christmas events. we were able to raise enough sponsors where that was not needed. So those are two good highlights for that, and that is our year in review, I think, kept under 2 minutes, Mr. Mayor. And I think, if any questions, I think Mary Beth is here, if anyone has any questions directed towards that.
I think the one thing our citizens have asked me about, they want to know about the Cherry Blossom Parade, if we're going to have, or event, if we're going to have it this year or not.
And we did talk about that at our last meeting, and I think, Mary Beth, that has been postponed.
It's been canceled.
Canceled due to the construction on Main Street. We felt it was in the best
I would like to
interest.
say though, the YMCA is planning on trying to have the Cherry Blossom 5K run. They're
Okay.
trying to do that.
All right.
So that will be good for anybody
And I guess
that
it's a
runs.
little far out on the
I
Independence
think they started.
celebration, but we are planning on the fireworks. That's still a go.
And of course, that was another well-attended event last year.
Oh, it was.
Very much so.
Thank
Again, I appreciate, the chamber's trust in me and the city's trust in me to allow me to serve as chairman of this chamber board.
Okay,
And I
think-
wouldn't want to, pass this. I do want to say on behalf of our chamber and our chamber board, our thoughts and prayers are with Councilman Parker for a very speedy recovery.
Oh, thank you so much. I think the Chamber's done an excellent job. I know dealing with the COVID and having to do a lot of the virtual stuff, but the website, I know, David, you've worked on that very hard, and that website is awesome. It's the best I've seen in years, so done a great job on that. And Mary Beth's always, she's on board with all the festivals, and I think all three of them deserve a good hand of applause.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is, item 11 is consideration of appointments to the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And Mary Beth Tackett, she's here. That would be page 48 in your agenda packets.
Yeah, we discussed it at the last meeting, so.
Work session, okay?
Yeah, work session.
Okay, Mary Beth.
We went over this a little bit at work session last time, and what the chamber's needing is just 2 appointees from the council. And we've given you 5 nominations. The council reserves the right to replace one of these nominations and put one of their choosing, or go pick 2 out of the 5. And they will have 3-year terms on the chamber.
Mary
Okay.
Beth, am I right that the top 4 up there, if the council picks 2, the other 2, will they be picked by the board?
The chamber, yes.
Chamber board, so all 4 are going on the board.
Right.
Either, okay.
Okay.
Unless we have somebody.
Yes, unless you have someone else you'd rather put in, but they will stay as your appointee, so.
And I know we did discuss this during our last work session, and if I remember correctly, I know, wasn't Johnny Brown, wasn't he chosen? Didn't you nominate him, Gary? And I can't remember who the other one was. Do you remember?
I know that Gary had said Johnny, and I think y'all were going back with Casey.
Yeah.
But,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
can switch
Casey
him out.
from
Site.
Modern
Yeah,
Printing.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Casey Site. Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay, I entertain a motion from council to appoint those 2 names, Johnny Brown of Allstate and Casey Sipe of Modern Printing, as the appointees or
I'll
to
make
be
a motion.
nominated by council.
Make a motion, we accept those 2 nominations, Johnny Brown from Allstate Insurance and Casey Sipe from Modern Printing, to serve on the, Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors.
And we did have a second, so we have a motion and a second for these two nominees to be appointed to the Chamber of Commerce for the coming year. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, the same, and there is none, so it is unanimous. Okay, Mary Beth, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item 12, and this is consideration of appointment to the planning board. And we have our planning and zoning director, Derek Mackey, here, and that will go to page 49 in your agenda packets, okay?
Yes, you're aware of that Larry Gunnell passed, so we've got to replace his position, and he was in the ETJ, so we've got to get someone from there, and I've looked at several people, but I looked at Matt Mooney. He lives at 175 Oak Tree Lane in Cherryville, which is in the ETJ. He was a police officer here in town for several years. He worked in local government. I think he has a position at Duke Energy now, and he owns a couple properties in town, so he knows the process of what goes through and everything. So I think he would be a good replacement, make some firm decisions, which we need on that board.
Okay. Does any council member have any questions in regards to presenting Mr. Matthew Mooney to replace Larry Gunnell on the Planning and Zoning Board? Does anyone have any questions? If not, will you entertain a motion that we accept Mr. Matthew Mooney as a replacement for Mr. Larry Gunnell on our Planning and Zoning Board?
Make a motion, we accept Matthew as the replacement for Larry Gunnell.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that we will appoint Matthew Mooney as a replacement for Mr. Larry Gunnell on our Planning and Zoning Board. No other discussion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and there is none. It is unanimous. Thank you, Derek. All right, next item is a consideration of a public hearing in reference to the special use permit for GIS parcel number 129707, which is 126 West Main Street. And they want to do the permit from B1 to residential. At this time, do I have a motion from council to enter into public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to enter into public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, there is none. We will now be considered in a public hearing. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so any citizen that would like to speak would have to be sworn in. And to make this very simple, I would ask that all that would like to speak, please raise your hand and we can do the swearing in of all citizens at one time. So do I have any citizen that would like to speak? Okay. If we'll have our North Carolina certified municipal clerk and the city of Cherryville's municipal clerk, if you will come forward, she will swear you in.
Is this where you want me, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am, up here. Mhm. And I would ask that you stand for the swearing in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give in this matter now at issue before the Cherryville City Council shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
You may be seated. And at this time, citizens to speak may do so at this time. And I think Teresa McFarland had signed up first.
I'll let Vicki and Derek go first if they want to.
Okay. Derek, you're right there. Do you want to go ahead and speak?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give a little background on what's going on. Yeah, Cherryville Main Street LLC came from 211 East Main Street, came and put an application in for the property located 126 East Main Street. They want to zone it B1, which is already a permitted use for residential. The reason they're gonna have a special use permit is because they wanna use the whole building. There won't be anything commercial associated with it. Therefore, they have to get a special use permit. But it is already a permitted use within our ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Who's next? Vicky?
I'm Vicki Sperling. I reside at 1661 Delview Road. My office is at 211 East Main Street in Cherryville. And it's 126 West Main that we're in question. And like Derek said, it is in the zoning ordinance that if you put total residential property on every floor in a building downtown Cherryville, you must have a special use permit in order to put those residential properties on the bottom level. And it's in our ordinance that you can do it, so it's not an ordinance change, it's just a special permit to allow us to put the residential on the bottom. And I think that, I represent Cherryville Main Street LLC as the project manager. And what Mr. O'Leary is wanting to do is, he wants to make that building total residential. It's on the end of the business side of town, and everything on those corners, on all four corners, are already residential. So this will just be a continued residential use on every corner on that block. And, we've had a lot of citizens who would like to be on the main level, and all the other apartments that we're proposing are on upper levels. Even though this building, we are planning to put an elevator. So we would have access to other floors too with an elevator. And, in the conditional use, we have to supply parking spaces for each apartment building in the building, a designated parking space for them. We have 8 apartments going in there, and so we'll designated 8 places. And, we have parking behind the buildings, but we're gonna be able to park across the street on the corner, on the vacant lot, that will now become a parking lot. So that's where those designated places will be, is straight in front of the building on the corner of Mulberry and Main.
Okay, will all the spaces be designated for that particular building or just part of them?
No, he doesn't mind sharing the parking space with citizens. What we're going to do, it'll be, we're only gonna designate the required parking spaces. And then there'll be some other spaces where, residents on other corners or people coming downtown can park. So,
You know
yeah,
how
we
many
won't
parks?
close it off.
We know how many parks will be required yet?
How many,
How many required parks there'll be for the building?
we have to have at least one for every, am I right? One for every resident. So we'll have 8 designated places. We'll have to put up a sign that'll say no parking here unless you live in that building for 8 spaces. And I'm not sure of the total number of spaces that are gonna go in there, but I mean, it's way more than 8, but, but that is what it'll be, is a parking lot right there.
But if it's a couple that both has a car, if both,
Well, they can both park there, it just won't be designated, like, they can all park there if they
Right.
want to. And we wanna have off-street parking, because we don't want the residents taking up the parking spaces on Main Street. But if they have 2 cars, if they have guests, they'll be able to park in there, it's just that those places won't be labeled tow-away zone if you don't live in the building. So it'll be a first come, first serve on all the parking places other than the designated places.
Have you made a decision as to whether or not they will be around that tree that occupies that lot, or would you tear the tree down to
We-
make more parking spaces?
We have not made a total decision. We did have Jimmy Adams to come and take a look at that tree. And the tree, I don't know if any of you noticed, but the tree has roots exposed that are really coming up high.
That's,
So, and they're big roots, so it'll probably damage the parking lot if we leave it. So unless somebody objects, I mean, and he does care what the city council thinks, but it's recommended we take the tree down because it's got some damage and its roots are already up out of the ground, so they're not close, If you look at it, you can see them, they're probably sticking up about that high above the ground already, so it's probably gonna need to, it's an expensive tree to take down because we've got sewer lines and water lines and fire hydrants right around that, so they're actually gonna have to drop it down in pieces to get it down, but it does look like that it would be better if it came down. And nobody's dead set on that. If any of y'all have any comment, you're welcome to share that with us.
I just know that I have noticed that some people are already using it parking. I don't know whether it's the apartment people, behind, or whether, that's people uptown, or whether it's business people. I just noticed that I have seen some vehicles parked in there already.
And that wouldn't be anybody we have anything to do, so I don't know who's parking there, but it would be a parking place, that's what we want it to be, so. Y'all have any other questions about it?
Any council members have any questions for Ms. Sperling at this time? Okay, thank you.
Last but not least. Gary, you brought up my concern. My biggest concern with this project is parking. And I own 2 parking spots directly behind my building, which are gonna be closer to the apartment buildings that's going in. And rather than 8 spaces, realistically, we're probably looking at 16. If you've got husband and wife that each have a car, that's 16 vehicles that have to go somewhere. I don't want my agents to not be able to have parking, because we usually only have, what, maybe 1 to 4 people in the office at a time. So it's not like we're gonna take up a lot of parking spaces, but I don't want to get into a bad neighbor situation because I'm having people towed because they're parking in my designated parking spots behind my building. I'm also concerned about the construction phase, because during the water and sewer project, and yes, we had a wall repaired at, Mr. O'Leary and I had to come to a meeting of the minds about. That did cost me $42,000. I'm concerned about the disruption of my business, because I was told when I came to an owners meeting last year that my business would not be disrupted. During all this stuff that happened, my business shut down for 2 months. We couldn't get to my business. And I had a loss, and I even filed an insurance claim for loss of use. Guess what? They denied it because it's not an act of God. So I was out of business, was told I wasn't gonna be out of business, and quite honestly, I'm concerned that something like that might happen again, and it might impede my agents and my livelihood as well as theirs. But the parking is my biggest objection. Thank you, Vicki. I think we've overcome that with the parking lot, I hope. But, I know that also it was said that handicap parking would be there, but we looked at the slope of the land behind, and I encourage you all to come behind our office. With the slope of the land, I don't know how you can do handicap parking there. It would almost have to be in the parking lot across the street. That's my concerns. I thank you all, and thank you for listening.
I have a question, Ms. McFarland.
Yes, Mayor?
You were talking about your spaces, you were worried about someone using that. Do you have those designated that?
I do not yet, because I haven't had to.
But you
But I
can just
will.
put a sign
Oh, I
up that
will
says
put a sign up.
dedicated to, rock and realty only. Yeah, and I
Yes.
think that'd take care of a lot of it. If the people see that and know that it's only for that business.
If we have a problem, I've had to tow in Gastonia. I don't have a problem having to tow in Cherryville. So I don't want to get to that point. I like trying to be a good neighbor, but I'm gonna stand up for my agents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes. So your business was shut down for 2 months?
months, yes.
Strictly because of our
It
construction
was,
on
it
Main
was
Street?
because, it was a combination of things. But I couldn't even access the front of my office because of the water and sewer project going. Yes, my office was closed for 2 months.
But as a direct result
As a
of
direct
our
result of what was going on, because
water
what
and
I
sewer
did is,
stuff.
yes, what I did was we partnered with, or we planned to try to have the building repair done to coincide. That had a little bit, that impeded it a little bit, but what impeded it the most was we couldn't access our building because of the roads and all being torn up. So, yes, sir, I lost 2 months worth of business. I also lost an agent because of this. I was able to relocate one of my agents to Gastonia, but I did lose an agent over this too. So I have suffered economically from all of this stuff going on. And I'm a little concerned about what the repercussions are gonna be once Mr. O'Leary starts on this building. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is that, that's all that, has been sworn in that can speak at this time? So I'm gonna ask council now if, I would have a motion that we exit public hearing at this time.
Motion to exit public hearing?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to exit public hearing at this time. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, there is none. At this time, we would look at the discussion and finding of facts that you will find on page 61. And this is finding of facts for property location at 126 West Main Street, parcel number 129707. The use is for any multifamily dwelling or development not associated with commercial use, which is B1 Central Business District. Finding the facts, 1, the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to plan. Yes or no by council?
Yes.
Yes.
2, the use meets all required conditions and specifications. Yes or no?
Yes.
3, the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property unless the use is a public necessity. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
And 4, the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and will be in general conformity with the Cherryville Land Development Plan. Yes
Yes.
or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, on the finding the facts with all 4, do I have a motion that all 4 be accepted at this time? And that, the finding of fact be recorded as yes?
Make a motion that we accept all 4 items as finding of fact at this time.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that all 4 are agreed to be yes of the finding and facts at this time. All in favor say aye.
Mayor, can that motion include, do you intend for that motion to include approving the special use permit?
Yes, after having held this public hearing, and in light of the finding of facts listed herein, the Cherryville City Council takes action to approve the special use permit as presented. Do I have entertain a motion for that?
Make a motion that we accept that as presented as a special use permit.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second that we accept the fact of finding herein and that we approve the special permit. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, there is none. Okay. We will now move to item 14 is a presentation of the monthly financial statement by our finance director, Dixie Wall. And that would be page 62 and 63 in your agenda packet.
Mayor, council, I was just gonna make sure to let y'all know, on this situation here, this is ending December 31st, you'll see. We've already emailed those out to you, but because way we get bank statements in, and by the time they get reconciled and the way the council meetings fall, we're always gonna be 2 months behind basically presenting this. So this will be ending December 31 and then going forward from there.
Right. Okay.
This is 6 months into the budget too, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Mhm.
6
Okay.
months into the budget, each department should be at 50%. There are, all departments are within the 50%. Some's a 2% over. General fund has a increase of 23,000 at the time. The electric fund has an increase of 363,000. Sanitation, which is now in its own utility fund, is in the, deficit by 1,200. And then water sewer fund is in the positive by 138. And at December 31, we had roughly $6.7 million in the bank.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Finance Director in regards to the financial statement through December 31st, 2021?
So you're saying everything's in line and there's no anomalies or nothing stands out?
No, sir.
Good.
And as far as the bonds are not in that paperwork. You have a separate sheet. The bonds are right out, 7.1 right now.
That'd be
So,
page 63.
we've spent,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah,
And then
I
we
see
have
that.
ARP funding for 962,000, but they're separate.
967.
Well, what's been spent, we have a remaining of 962.
Okay. And that's the same
That's
through
in the bank
December
account.
31st? Okay. All right.
Let me ask you one more question.
Okay.
You know, I had asked for a statement on the P cards, and Brian kinda explained to me that it's all really tied to the budget. And so, and my understanding that no one can go over the budget as far as spending their P card?
Right,
Their P card?
they cannot go over their departmental budget. So when the budget's approved in the ordinances, it's by department. So you've got administration, EDC, police, fire, public works, POW bill, streets, sanitation. They cannot go over their department's budget total.
Right.
Or else we'll be in violation.
Does it
But they will.
automatically stop the charges when they get to that point?
We do get a warning in the financial system if they're over budget in a line item.
You
So
sent
not
me
just
this,
on-
you
just
sent me
any
this
line.
report,
So,
I'll pass it out.
Mm-hmm. And each department has certain restrictions of where that card can be used.
yes, and I can drill it down to where it can be used only at certain places,
Mm-hmm.
so.
So the first report you gave me was 3 months.
Uh-huh.
What are we looking at there?
Okay, you're talking about before the P cards
Yeah.
were issued, there was a spending of 22,000? Is that what?
Yeah,
On,
I mean,
on
that
just-
number, say for October, $6,769. What all is included in that total figure? Would that be, back then, before the P cards, that was purchase orders?
No, purchase orders are separate. The department heads get purchase orders over $500.
So what kind of-
Anything over $500, they have to call and get a purchase order, whether it's on a P card, whether it's on a Ferguson account, whether it's where it's spent, they have to get a purchase order.
Okay.
Correct me if
That's
I'm
where they
wrong.
sign out for the card. So this was actually the credit card.
This
That-
is
but-
actually the credit card that they
Right.
sign out for, which may been, people going to Walmart, people going to Sam's Club,
Mm-hmm.
travel, training. I mean, it's a number of things.
So in
And so are
October-
the P cards. I mean, I would have to, I'm not prepared to explain what's in that 6,700, but I can when I get back to the office, cause I can pull the check.
I just didn't understand what that total,
That's probably things
Figure
like
what?
when an employee has to run to Ferguson's and buy something for a job they're completing that day. They get something at Ferguson's, they sign the receipt gets sent to us, Dixie and them cut the check, pay the bill. That's what that
Okay.
is.
I just didn't understand. I asked for a report on P cards and I got the last 3 months of the year.
I think you wanted to look at what spending was like the year
Before
before we
P
had
cards,
P cards
after
and the
P
year
cards.
Right.
after we had P cards.
Which
That's-
we only,
When did the P cards start? When did we start using them?
they started in March of 2021,
Okay. So-
roughly.
So the
It's
second,
when we started a,
second report you
use
sent
them.
me, the 12-month with P cards.
Mhm.
That one shows the whole,
For the whole year.
yeah.
right.
And so for October, that shows me 2021. It doesn't show me 2020.
We didn't have P cards in
Yeah, we
2020.
didn't start using.
We
it
didn't
until
start till March
2021.
21.
Right there's when
I know,
it
but-
first started.
I want a comparison of 2020 spending versus after the P cards in 2021.
And like I said, Councilman Freeman, that still all goes back to your budget.
Yeah.
That's where we gotta look at our budget, what it was in 2020, and we gotta look at our budget in 2021 to see where we're at to determine the amount of spending.
Okay.
Cause now that City Manager Dalton has, there's no more signing out of the credit cards. So the 63,000 you see will transfer to the P cards
All right, let me ask you
if
this.
they have to pay it with credit cards.
Now, we saw up above that you had October 2021, $3,118. Now, if we go down to 2021, First National Bank of Omaha, what's that 11,320?
Okay, I will tell you the 11,000 we're fixing to get a $5,400 refund on because the DMV charged us $7,387 for a tag for the street sweeper. And I've been working on that.
What's that?
So,
But that was a credit card.
yeah, that was a credit card. They don't have room for 7,000. They don't even have room for $2,000, which is the limit, which would have been the limit. $2,006 is what's supposed to be a tag.
So the First
And
National Bank
registration.
of Omaha is the old credit card system that we had before. and
Right.
Which is still in use, if they check it out and use
Well,
it.
Now
Dalton
they can
has-
check it out.
No.
Dalton has took that away.
So how'd they spend that $11,320?
A lot of that was a mistake
that
from
was
DMV.
It was on the
Yeah.
DMV
So that was
tax.
not credit card use.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
they had to sign the credit card out to go get the tag.
Department heads only have $2,500 on their P
They can't
card.
get the credit card.
Well, how'd they spend that much money on it then?
That's First Bank of Omaha. That's our credit cards that now City Manager Dalton, you can't sign out. So we're gonna have to figure out a different
But
way
at this
to.
time, they could still sign them out and use them.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I couldn't understand.
So, and all department heads didn't have the P cards. Now I think all department heads do have the P cards. So, City Manager Dalton made everybody sign out a P card now. So you shouldn't have any purchases on First National Bank of Omaha.
Okay, let's go back up to the top, the first 3 months that you gave me. I asked for a comparison of before and after. Why'd you just give me the last 3 months of the year?
That's cause
That's
I
city
asked her
manager.
to look for the last 3 months. That was my mistake. I
The
didn't know
normal-
any more.
Before they got the cards, they usually tried to spend their budget the last 3 months of the year, right? What was left of it?
No, they
Baseline
actually,
budgeting, if you don't spend it, you don't get it to next year.
the last 3 months of our year is April, May, and June, not October, November, and December.
That's true. You're right. Okay. So why do you
So,
think
and I
that-
cut spending
Why would
off.
that spending be higher than those 3 months? Than the card use the next year? Is there any explanation of why they'd spend that much more, 22,000 versus 7,400?
The cards are harder to use. They have to fill out a form, don't they? Some kind of form.
They
Isn't it a
spent
little
more
bit
money
more
with the cards.
paperwork?
And it depends on the.
Now
use,
this
what
is
it's
harder to
needed.
use than this.
Right.
This is the P card.
Yeah, this is the P card.
P card, you just use the card, you go in the store and charge what you.
Yeah, but then
He's
they
saying,
have to fill out
you're asking
paperwork.
why in 2020 was First Bank of Omaha 22,000, but then in 2021 P cards 74?
Yeah.
Cause most department heads didn't have them. I think there was only 4 department heads using P cards.
We had several department heads that just got their P card probably a month ago, and that's because we've taken away the ability to go up there and sign out a credit card, because we don't know who has that credit card sometimes, or
Right.
what they're spending on. So that's why we said everybody has to have their P card, that way we can track it by individual use.
So what I'm seeing is there's really no good way to compare before and after.
Yes, your budget's the best way.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, your budget's gonna be your biggest indicator for spending.
Because we've got
So the P
different,
cards really had no effect on spending, the budget does that.
The budget, the P card's
It's
not.
just a way to hold
It's
them
not
more
bringing
accountable.
spending up, or it's not bringing it down.
Right.
It's all related to your budget.
no, cause we've got accounts places too, that they can go sign when they purchase stuff on account. McNeely Oil, they purchase gasoline. I mean, we don't pay for it by P card or anything, we
And
pay for it by
Ferguson.
check.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, in Ferguson, we've got an account, at Southern States. I mean, we've got many accounts that we write a monthly check to. So you got checks involved in that budget, not just credit cards.
Right.
So,
I'm getting a better understanding of how spending's done. I mean, we have a fiduciary responsibility with this board. You know, that's why I really want the monthly reports, so we can get a better understanding of how the budget and how the spending works. Okay.
And if a P card is swiped, if it's not,
She gets an email.
she gets the email, he gets the email, he gets the email of who swiped that card.
Yeah.
So if Jason swipes that card, they know Jason swiped that card. Where with that credit card, if they were signing it out, he might have handed it to somebody
He
else.
could give it
and
to
then
anybody in the
You had no
department to
idea
go
who made
use
that
it.
purchase or swapped it. So P card is a little bit.
So what you're telling me is this is really a better way to control and see who's spending what?
No, I think it is.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it gives,
More
and
checks and
it gives our
balances, yeah.
department heads the ability to easily do their job.
Okay.
It does, it helps.
But yet, it didn't save us any money, cause they still spend it.
Yeah, it's not gonna save you, it's not gonna cost you anything.
Not spending any more, not spending any less. All right, thank you, Dick. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Any other questions for Dixie? Okay, thank you, Dixie. Okay, we'll move on to item 15, and that is consideration of our next work session meeting, which is scheduled for February the 22nd, 2022. I don't see anything major that would have to be addressed at this time. And because of the month being so short, that's gonna pop up actually within a week or so, and whereas before, we've had a lot more time to put things on the agenda. So I would ask that council consider that we just cancel the work session for February 22nd, and everything would be addressed with our, which would be March 14th city council meeting. Does anyone have any objections, or would I entertain a motion that we cancel work session?
I make a motion to cancel the work session for February 22nd.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say. Business to come before council from staff.
I will say, just to give you an update, the grant that we received regarding Westgate Park, I met with Todd Sosby, who does a lot of work for the city as far as the tennis court resurfacing and all that, and I've included that in my report to y'all, but just to let you know, he should be getting us a price anytime so we can have an idea of what that's gonna cost us, what it's gonna cost us to resurface the basketball court, and he's reaching out to several contractors that he works with to see what we are looking at as far as resurfacing the walking track and making it into a walking track around Westgate Park. And he also gave me some contacts for some, individuals that he's worked with in South Carolina that helped him build some dog parks. So
Oh,
hopefully
okay.
we'll have some answers here pretty soon.
Good deal.
Okay. Anything else from staff this time? If not, anything else from council?
I got one.
Okay.
Brian, would you tell us how we resolved the problem with about Jerry Sanders' house?
Long story short, if, the water is running down Vivian Street, it runs down at a rate where when it comes to the bottom of the hill there, it was, basically the road is in bad shape. The water's running into Mr. Sanders' yard. It's eroding his yard. They fixed a lot. Mr. Abernathy has went out and helped Mr. Sanders. He's put some rock down there to slow the water down, but it's still, causing problems. And, if you go out there, any day it rains or 2-3 days later, you'll see puddles of water standing in the road. So I met with Paul Zer, and what he's looking at doing is we're gonna try to drop a drain right there where the rocks are currently at, where the water settles. He'll cut the road, tie the pipe back in across the road. There's a storm drain on the other side of Vivian. So he'll tie that pipe back into there, and that way we can hopefully get the water off the road and from going into Mr. Sanders' yard.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And also, the church is not through with their construction, are they?
They're
So
not,
it could be a bigger issue once they're through.
They're not, but I've talked to, well, this was talking to Mr. Sanders, the other day. He said they have probably backed off of paving everything up there. So I think that probably will help his problem a little bit. But he is apt to have some problems, probably from some runoff from the church, I would think. I hope not, but. we'll just
But
have to
his
wait.
issue now is caused by our,
He's, yes.
Always has.
Yes, his issue's
But-
on us now.
It's basically a sinkhole on the road right there,
Yeah.
gathering water, it was a pond.
And when it rains so hard, all that water coming down is just running into his yard, and it is eroding his yard away.
Brandon had tried to fix it with that rock and by putting some, rolling out the seed mat or whatever, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
coming up, but still,
Still did.
too much water, and then it would wash down to the drain,
Wash
which is
out
down at the
away.
bottom of the gully, pretty much.
And it did fix.
And I think we
it
even
slowed
put
it
some
down a
grass
lot.
out
He
there.
did, he
But it
did.
was
Seeded
it was
it.
a Band-Aid, I mean, it wasn't a permanent
was not
fix.
a
If we
permanent
put that
fix.
drain in, it'll help a lot more.
a good deal.
But I think Mr. Sanders is pretty much satisfied now that we've tried to remedy the situation.
We'll hopefully this drain works and we can get it, funneled. Cause if you go out there and look at the storm drain on the other side of the road that's currently there, you can tell the way the water runs down, it's not even running towards that drain. So it's all going towards Mr. Sanders' yard. So it's a problem,
Thank you for working on it.
no problem.
Okay, any other business from council?
I'd like to ask, David, can you give us an update on the main street as to when they're gonna start tearing out, how those sections will go? Because I know a lot of the citizens are good, I know you do a great job keeping everybody informed as to when that, but it's part of our fixing up the main street, so it's just something we've gotta bite the bullet for a while.
We met with the contractors, we meet every Tuesday at 10, and we met with them 3 weeks ago, and Sealand is about, well, they're already working at Depot and Main right now. They're putting in electrical lines there that will feed the new light poles that will go from one end. They're gonna be starting at Depot coming this way. One of the reasons we felt, meet with Brian, was to cancel and postpone the Cherry Blossom Festival this year. It looks like logistically, they'll be right in the mini park, right in front of that area of town, putting the new sidewalks in. So according to Sealand, what they're gonna be doing, they're waiting on a new piece of equipment that molds the curbing, and they're waiting on that. Of course, like everything else, there's time delivery. And they're waiting on that. They were hoping to get this week. They'll start, so they'll go up and they'll take move forward, and they're gonna try to do both sides of the street at the same time. As they do it, they're wanting to close down just sections of Main Street, from that area down, and be able to close it so they can work on both sides, because they felt like, they've seen it happen in other cities where people would drive up too close and almost hit the construction workers, or try to drive in the sidewalks, and going off of their expertise and talking to other towns. So it looks like they're gonna be starting within the next week to 2 weeks, Jill, putting in the new sidewalks and starting them that way. Coming this way, they'll stop at Pink Street right there, because that end of the street does not have any bricks. It's just strictly the sidewalks and the new edging and curbing and some bump outs and also some plantings. And then once that's done, we'll be working with them on how far up each way. So like right in front of Billy Cruz, up through that way, from Bruner's Automotive, in front of Hauser Drug, up through there, and we'll be working with them. We have new signs ordered that's gonna say, use our rear entrance, which we told everybody at times they'd have to do. They've got some other things that we can put down on the sidewalk that will let people walk over, but they're planning on trying to finish up every day around 4 o'clock and reopen Main Street, so it won't be closed all night just during those processes. And that's pretty much where they are right now. We'll meet with them again every week.
find out what the status of the equipment coming in, and also their contractor is here, and we're working with them that's also doing the bricks and the inlay in the sidewalk. So it's very ornate. It's going to be beautiful. The new lamp poles should have arrived this week, or they're coming, and we've already started inventorying all of the spots and the names and everything, got that written down, so we can put them right back in the exact same spot with the plaques that go with them, and also the benches. And so we have all that videoed, and also pictures made, and a graph of where all those go.
And we're still at the mercy of the weather as far
We are,
as
sir, yes.
pouring cement, because if it's below 32, you can't do it. So.
Right, and like.
But
doing
we've
the-
been fortunate enough to have the warm weather, and it looks like, according to the long-range plans, that we're gonna have an early spring, so
Well,
let's
they're-
hope for it.
Their predictions, and I'm saying late summer, is when they'll be done, but their predictions are trying to be finished by the end of July. But then they actually had a week they had to shut down their whole crew because of COVID, and they had to, stay at home. So you never know what's gonna happen. We just do the best we can. I've met with every merchant and asked them to contact me, or I've tried to meet with them to start filling them in. And we've got a lot of stuff to do. There's a new video that's gonna be coming out encouraging people to shop downtown, showing them where they are. The QR code that Pete Kraft mentioned earlier will be on these signs that people can look at, and it'll show, and it also on our website will show the rear parking of certain areas and businesses, and say during this week, please use this area for parking for this business, this parking for this, and it'll be able to do that. And then once the north and south alley, Brandon's really helped me a lot keeping up with all that, but we can't pave right now because the paving companies, if I'm not mistaken, are not open, that produce the asphalt. So they'll be working, trying to get the north and south alleys completed. So we will have parking off of Main Street when we're actually doing that work.
And it's gonna be section at a time, right?
Yes.
Tear out and replace, tear
Tear
out
out,
and
and
replace.
that's what was said 2 weeks,
And
ago.
then
2 weeks,
didn't come
was
in
it
and do
3
the
weeks,
asphalting?
Brian?
Is
I
that
think it
right?
was 3 weeks, so.
And then the asphalt will be last of the
Yes,
whole, okay.
and
that's
the
what I
way
thought.
they describe that, there's a machine that'll go down through there, and it'll be kinda like a digger. I'm not an expert, but it rips it up.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Takes
I've
it
seen
out,
them.
it'll go down to dirt, and then they'll come back in, put the base in. But there are areas that are gonna be a little more problematic, like at Pink Street, there is pavement underneath the asphalt at Pink Street that was done originally, so they're gonna have to go in and, in front of, Phoenix, I think, Brandon can correct me, but I know they had to go and, they started cutting the stuff down through there, but the cement was so thick that they had to buy another and rent another piece of equipment to get down through, because at one time, I think Brandon said that area used to be cement, the roads were, and then they paved on top of it. So in order to get it right, I think they're gonna have to take up the cement, take up the asphalt, then take up the cement, then put it back, so it all matches level and it looks aesthetically correct, and also works with the storm drainage and stuff like that.
Ain't gone up on the price on this, have it?
Not yet, no. Nope. But we've been able to do and, keep up with the merchants and kind of explain to them. They've all been very helpful and greedy, and they understand. And, it's a process. If you remodel your kitchen, sometimes you gotta eat out. And as Mayor says, it's progress, and we're looking forward to having it done, and hopefully by this time this fall, it'll be done. And we're planning, meeting this coming Tuesday night. Angela Walker's the chairman of our publicity committee, and we're meeting and planning on doing a big grand opening of Main Street. I spoke with Brian about that, and we're starting to put a budget together for that, to have one night in September where we close Main Street and invite everybody to come up and have a big band, not a concert, but just people to come up and shop and go into our stores, and appreciation to our merchants, and have some small giveaways and things like that as the grand opening. And I'll meet with the mayor about inviting other dignitaries to basically a really nice ribbon cutting for our new beautiful downtown.
Okay.
And everybody's business will go up, and all property values will go up, and.
Yes, and
Yes.
believe it or not, today I met with a lady who I've been trying to get a hold of for a year. And she came in my office just randomly today, and she's ready to fix her building, and was talking to me about a grant. And I'm like, like, I'll help you tear that stuff off of it. You know, but be illegal. But anyway, she actually came in and we started talking. She wasn't aware of a lot of the stuff that you guys have put in place to help business owners. And she was very grateful. And so I'm going to meet with her and her brother next week. And I gave her all the requirements of getting a grant for the city, be in good standing with the city financially, blah, 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 all the stuff that we have there. And she's going to try to open a new store in there. And we went over a couple ideas, and one that we did through Economic Vitality, a study, was something that we feel like we need downtown. And she's thinking about that because she might do that one now. So we're really excited about that.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job. Okay. Any other business by any council member? If not, do I have, entertain a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I get to adjourn. 38 days. Which I like.